I cannot believe that I have been on BookTube for almost 3 years now and I've never made a single standard recommendation video. Let's see how this goes. Hello YouTube, my name is Isabella and welcome back to my channel. As you can tell from the title of this video, I'm going to be recommending a few audiobooks to you that I think are really great, well crafted, and yeah, I'm excited to do this. I do this really annoying thing where if I don't feel like I'm an expert or really well versed in something, I don't think that I can recommend stuff, which is dumb. It's really, really dumb, and I'm working to combat that, and I figured audiobooks would be a good segue into recommending more things. Today I'm going to be talking about the way that the narration is actually performed and the construction of the audiobooks, as well as I possibly can because I have read a couple of these a little while ago. I think audiobooks are fantastic. They are an amazing way for me to supplement my reading and to read way more than what I ever would if I was just reading physically. And they're also super valid if that's your main form of reading. I hate that stupid debate that comes up every few months on Twitter when people try to disqualify or discredit the value of audiobooks. Audiobooks are wonderful. I'm tried to pick some that I don't really see recommended, so you can also maybe give them a try. So now let's finally get into it. This intro has taken forever. So the first audiobook I'd like to recommend is Station 11 by Emily St. John Mandel and narrated by Kirsten Potter. Station 11 is a post-apocalyptic book, and when I hear that, I wouldn't necessarily think that this story is suited, but it really, really works. This is a bit of a departure from your standard post-apocalyptic story. It doesn't really focus on the apocalypse and the events of like the world basically coming to an end. It focuses on a small cast of characters and their lives before and after this apocalyptic event occurs, and it's incredibly slow-paced and atmospheric, and the way that this is narrated I think is just simply fantastic. When I was listening to this book, I was in it. Our narrator really sucked me into the story. She had a lovely voice, and I think that it's one of the most mesmerizing audiobooks I've ever read. The narration combined with some fantastic and atmospheric writing really, really work like super well, and I definitely recommend you give this one a shot. For my next pick, it's no secret that I love Elizabeth Acevedo. I love her writing, I love her voice, so I'm going to recommend Pride by E.B. Zeboy. Now you might be a little bit confused, but this book itself is actually narrated by Elizabeth Acevedo, author of The Poet X and With the Fire on High. Pride is exactly what it says here on the cover. It is a Pride and Prejudice remix. It is a contemporary young adult story. Elizabeth Acevedo's voice is just gorgeous. I love the sound of her voice, but I also love the way that she narrates characters. It's especially impressive because when she's narrating her own books, she knows exactly the way that she wrote it, so the exact way that she wants to narrate it, but she takes someone else's characters and brings them so well to life and make them seem so very real that I just thought it was hands down well done. E.B. Zeboy and Elizabeth Acevedo were a fantastic pairing. I can still remember phrases that she has said in other books and from this book itself, which I think is fantastic considering I read this a year ago. A fantastic voice and a timely story bringing a classic into the modern world. I think this is definitely one that you should give a try. The next book I would like to recommend is Norse Mythology by Neil Gaiman, also narrated by Neil Gaiman. If you have never listened to Neil Gaiman speak, I suggest you do it now. Maybe finish the video first, but then go and listen to his voice, because he has a beautiful, deep, resounding voice that is so well suited to narration. Not only does he have a wonderful voice, but he narrates and personifies characters so well. Norse mythology is essentially Neil Gaiman taking some of his favorite Norse myths and retelling them. It's a very, very simple concept, and the book itself I think I gave 3.5 out of 5 stars, but his narration is one of the reasons why it just stands out to me. He could take the ridiculous things that are occurring in Norse myth and just make them really fun. And I just was so impressed with this. And now anytime I pick up Neil Gaiman, I can hear his voice. It's just that powerful. The next book I read, I was not entirely sure if I would like the audiobook for, and boy am I shocked. It is My Lady Jane by Cynthia Hand, Brody Ashton, and Jody Meadows. And this is narrated by Catherine Kelgreen. This is a farcical retelling of Lady Jane Grey, the famous 9-Day Queen, and it's alternate history, kind of takes the piss out of history, and I had no idea if I would like this book at all, to be honest, or if I think it would be well suited to audio. Our narrator does a fantastic job. There are 3 main characters, and you hear from their 3 different perspectives, and she makes them so very distinct, and I was just so impressed. She also does it with a sort of ridiculous, over-the-top British accent, and to be honest, I was scared. I didn't think I was going to like it. At first, it was a little grating, but because the story is so ridiculous, her narration just perfectly matches it, and I just enjoyed myself immensely. The next book I would like to recommend is none other than Cersei by Madeline Miller. I listened to this in 2019, and it was very quickly one of my favorites of the year. This one is an incredible standout, and the audiobook narration also was incredibly well done. If you didn't know, Cersei is a sort of retelling, reimagining of the mythical Greek Cersei. Just chronicles her life over a long period of time, and I was just so impressed with the narration. Simply put, her voice was fantastic, and I think she personified Cersei very successfully. She also has this sort of slight accent or lilt to her voice to kind of make it seem like it's from a different time, a different era. If I remember correctly, please God, I'm hoping I'm not making this up, but she kind of made it vaguely British or vaguely from somewhere else, and I thought that was just a nice touch. And I guess really well suited to the whole godly thing. If you can get your hands on a copy, definitely do. This one was just really well done. I love the story and I love the narration, and it's The Nightingale by Kristen Hanna. I shouldn't have left this last because a lot of people have read this book, not only on BookTube, but in just the general public. This is an incredibly popular story, so maybe I shouldn't have chosen this one. But I haven't really heard many people talk about the audiobook, and I think it was just really well done. This tale famously follows 2 sisters during World War II in Nazi-occupied France. They're both French, and they both end up fighting the war in very different ways. I didn't expect to like this at all, but the book itself was really great and heartfelt, but the narration was well done as well. He also did American, British, French, and German accents when all different various groups of people were talking, and I think it was just well performed. I also really like the way she personified the sisters. They're very different people. Their narration needed to be different and distinct, and I thought she succeeded at that. And when I was doing research for this list, I realized that Audible has this ranked as one of its most downloaded and used audiobooks. But I listened to it on Hoopla. I had no idea that the audiobook was so well done. So if you are maybe a little skeptical for reading this, I would suggest maybe giving the audiobook a try because I loved it. I gave this book 4.5 out of 5 stars. It's definitely one of the standouts of my 2019 year in reading. And now is the part where I would like to apologize slightly just for the repetition in my recommendations. I could hear it myself. I said it 500 times, and this is why I think you should pick up the book, or just stuff like that. Hopefully I edited it out. Hopefully I don't sound too redundant, but these are audiobooks I genuinely stand behind, the books themselves as well. But yeah, if you're an audiobook reader, please let me know down in the comments below some of your recommendations. Hopefully in a few months' time, or when I think I'm ready for it, I will do a high fantasy recommendations because I already have a couple on a list, but I'm looking to add a few more before I do that. As always, thank you so much for watching. I really appreciate it, and I'll see you again very soon. Bye!